What's up, everybody? It's Bitcoin Philosopher. What is up with this attack on the 80,000 Bitcoin? Did somebody just hit the gold mine, the gold volcano, the Bitcoin volcano, the El Salvador thermal powered mining operation volcano? I mean, my goodness, right? I'm trying to make sense of this. There's some good articles out there. This one is by Protos, kind of breaking down the attack and explaining it as basically like a phishing attack, right? So you've got emails that are basically trying to get you to click a link and put in your info into what looks like a legit website, but it's really not, right? And so they're saying that this is essentially a phishing attack, but targeting Bitcoin and people who have massive amounts of Bitcoin. And they targeted this, it might be one wallet, it might be 8 separate wallets, but basically targeting these wallets that have Bitcoin that have not been moved since 2011, okay, connected with Mt. Gox. And it appears that BitMEX, Arthur Hayes, give me a follow if somehow you're hearing this. um, they're the ones that basically started paying attention to all these op return messages that were being attached to these tiny amounts being sent to the wallet. And you may have heard op return if you're following the whole spam war debate. People not wanting these types of op return messages being attached to transactions. This one does not involve somebody taking a shit in New York or what have you, but basically putting them on notice that if you don't claim ownership of this Bitcoin, we're gonna take it. And they're directing the owner to go to this website, salomonbros.com, where you can find this owner notice. And I thought that was interesting, like the Salomon brothers, okay? Like, who are the Salomon brothers? You'd probably have to be a bit of a older individual to know that they were an investment bank that was pretty big time in the 80s. And they actually got in trouble for doing some shady stuff with treasury bonds. Some insider trading, making purchases in the name of someone who didn't actually give them authority, and they got in a lot of trouble. And actually, Mr. Buffett was actually part of the company at the time, and basically took control of the company to get them in the clear. And then they kind of went down, and reemerged quite recently. This is actually from Bloomberg. Bloomberg's great. I'm not going to pay for this though, but this story was back in 2022 about the Salomon brothers reviving, the investment bank and focusing on middle market firms. This is in 2022, and they've had a website like that website. That's a real URL, and interestingly, they're directing them to that website. And I don't actually advise anybody go to this website because if it is a phishing operation, anything that you click could be a freaking landmine. Definitely don't enter any information in there. But that is what the Salomon Brothers last website was. And there's an address on there for the location of the Salomon Brothers. It's 733 3rd Avenue in New York. But no suite name, right? It just connects to this skyscraper in New York City. Now, when you type Salomon Brothers into Google Maps, you're actually going to get another entity called Salomon Encore. The modern Salomon Brothers. financial institution. And are they actually connected to those Salomon brothers from back in the day? Well, according to the Protos website, yeah, actually, they own the domain SalomonBrothers.com, and they decided to rebrand in March 2022. That's the relaunch that Bloomberg was talking about. They rebranded to Salomon Encore. And they did own the domain Salomon Encore, but when you go there, it redirects to the original Salomon Bros website. So, and this looks like, it's an actual operation, operating company with some of the alumni of the original Salomon Bros. There's only 2 reviews. One of them doesn't have any writing, and this person says that they sell engagement rings. I think that he bought an engagement ring from like a jeweler called Solomon Jewelers or something, and was like, "Oh, I want to give them a shout out," and just typed Solomon in, and that popped up, and he gave a review. But no, Solomon Encore seems to be a real thing. So the Salomon Bros, probably in their 70s and 80s by now. They're still around, those alumni. And so the website that these fishers are trying to get you to go to, they have, like a whole advisory board with names of those people who were part of the Salomon Brothers bank back in the 80s and 90s. And so the confusion for me is, have they actually gotten access to these coins? Guy Swan on his podcast, definitely check out his video. He's talking about these coins have actually been moved. That's not something that these articles mention. There's this article by Protos. There's another good one by Crypto Slate. But those don't actually mention the coins being moved. So if the coins have been moved, I wonder if the owner actually took the bait, because this is what happened somewhat recently in April. $330 million worth of Bitcoin stolen, what they call a social engineering scam from an elderly American. And so it's a type of fraud where attackers manipulate victims into handing over wallet access. And so I would assume that it was something similar to this, because that's what they're trying to connect this to, basically. Telling someone, giving them some sort of maybe legal notice that if you don't, fill out this document, you will lose ownership of your Bitcoin. They don't know any better. Targeting older addresses makes sense because, the wallets back then weren't, they're not like the wallets today, with multi-sig and in the early days, you didn't even have seed phrases or anything, you just, and that's how, people were just keeping them on simple hard drives and USB thumb drives. So, this whole story has just been very, nerve-wracking, but, definitely is not legit. Like this whole, just you can even see that the actual notice had a ridiculous typo in it. The client has taken constructive possession of it and seeks to. Unless is the client's 2025 pronoun of choice, right? This is a pretty petty mistake. So, no law firm writing on behalf of a investment bank would make that kind of mistake. And of course, if it was a legit attempt to make legal control, why would you try to, make a legal claim in the name of a company that, either no longer exists or you have nothing to do with, right? I mean, I doubt it's the 70-year-old alumni of the Solomon Bros of the 80s who are doing this. Um, so it's an interesting scam. You know, I am interested though, in if the coins have moved, who's actually behind that. I mean, Guy Swan was talking about how, the connection with Lost, and you'd have to be an older person to know about the Solomon Brothers and even Lost. So, um, this is just very intriguing. I hope nobody's had their Bitcoin stolen through this type of attack. But we'll just be mindful. But definitely, if anyone says they're going to take control of your Bitcoin, don't believe them.